Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Rob Stokes and I'm the chair of the North Sydney Local Planning Panel. I would like to open this meeting, as is customary and appropriate, with an acknowledgement of country. On behalf of all present and those watching on webcast, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of these lands in which we meet and to pay our respect to the ancestors and spirits past and present. I'll now go to introduce or ask the members of the panel to introduce themselves to those online and ask them also to declare whether they have any conflicts. So I'll refer first to the panel member on my left.
Robert Montgomery. I'm an expert member of the panel and I have no conflict of interest to declare.
Rob Stokes, as mentioned, chair, no conflicts to declare.
Lindsay Day, community representative, and I have no conflicts either.
John McInerney, I'm an architect and town planner and I have no conflicts.
Thanks, panellists. I would like to advise everyone online that the panel has had the opportunity on this delightful day to complete all site inspections and that we've also had the opportunity to fully read and digest the council officer reports. It's now our opportunity to hear from those of you who have registered to speak, and we'll be listening first to submitters and then the applicants will have the opportunity to respond. Once the meeting has been completed in terms of all the submitters and applicants have had the opportunity to present their views to the panellists, the panel will go into closed deliberations. The decision of the panel will be published on council website by the end of the week. And it will also include a recording of the meeting. Before I go to item one, however, I just wanted to say that as you've been advised, there are time limits in relation to what you have to say, time limits that are uniformly applied of 3 minutes. I know that's not terribly long, but the reason for this is to ensure that from an administrative perspective, we can get through things reasonably quickly. And also to make sure that everyone has the same opportunity. So I will be quite robust in monitoring the time and I will interrupt you at the end of whatever sentence you're on at the end of 3 minutes to advise you of that, and that'll be your opportunity to wrap up as quickly as possible. And the reason for this is to ensure that no one could be perceived to have more advantage than anyone else by having longer to speak. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. So everyone has 3 minutes to have their say, and so now that's clear. I'll take us to item one, which is DA number 359 of 2023, and the address being 45 Ben Boyd Road, Neutral Bay. We have no submitter registered to speak here, but we do have James Corrie from Gatt and Associates.
James.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Perfect, thank you. I am the applicant's town planner for this matter. We have reviewed council's assessment report and we do support the recommendation for approval and the conditions of consent contained within the assessment report. I am mainly here today to answer any questions that the panel may have from a town planning's perspective, as I'm a planner, but I'll do my best to answer any other matters that you have. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thanks, James. I'll defer to the panel.
Yes, Chair. James, I'm interested in the impact of the high brick fence on what is in fact a listed heritage item. And of course, I imagine that fence goes back to the 1950s or 60s when it was quite the fashion to do that along many of the roads in North Sydney. It seems to me this is an opportunity perhaps for the applicant to attain or go back to quality of that heritage listing, which I think is inherent in there, but can't really be seen or illustrated at the moment because of the high fence. So my question is, would the applicant be interested, or could we discuss with the applicant the possibility of a different fence there that might be more compatible with its listed nature?
That was the front fence you were referring to?
Yeah, the
Panel
brick
member?
fence.
Yes, I'm sure I could discuss with the owner of the site whether they would be open to exploring something like that. But however, it is an existing portion of the site, and we weren't going to make any changes to that. So I'm not sure whether we could undertake that within this DA as we're this far along. But if the panel does have concerns with the height of that existing fence, I'm sure I can relay to the owner of the site to see whether they would be open to having a fence that's more suitable to the character of the area. But that's a matter that I'll need to defer to the owner for.
Yes. So we could maybe make a suggestion or something. Another matter I draw to your attention is the fence is on council land. I'm not sure if you picked that up from your drawings. So there is so it's a question of, it's a very minor matter, but it would seem to me a suitable solution might be to come back with an appropriate heritage type fence, which I'm sure council would not disagree with, but I just note the fact that it is on council land. And you might convey that to your owner or to your client, but I imagine the survey documents quite clearly show it, so he or she probably knows this anyway, do they?
Yes, I obviously I can't speak on behalf of the owner as they're not here right now, but I'm sure they are likely aware. But as I said, I would need to defer to their judgment. But can I just ask you, panel member, would that impact the recommendation of this current application?
No, I entirely agree with the actual recommendation. This would be, as it were, an addendum that the matter could hopefully be resolved towards the direction that I was talking about. So, but it certainly doesn't, in my mind anyway, impact the body of the recommendation.
Yeah, in that case, I'm happy to defer to the owner of the site and happy to have discussions with the assessing officer after the fact to see if they're open to anything like that as per your recommendation.
Okay, thanks.
Other panelists, any comments?
Nothing from me, thank you.
So James, I also endorse what John said in relation to the fence height. If that could be relayed to the owner, it does obviously impact upon the heritage values of the site, and also given it's on council land, it'd be something we'd love you to raise with the owner.
Perfect. Thank you. I will do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thanks, James. Okay, that item having been attended to, we'll move to item number 2, which is DA number 37 of 2024, the address being 171 Miller Street, North Sydney. And I understand we have Michael Holt from the applicant who is going to present on this item.
Matthew.
Matthew, pardon me.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and panel. Can you guys hear me all right?
Loud and clear.
Fantastic. So I'm representing my client, Edimon Projects, as their town planner, and having reviewed the conditions of consent and council's determination report, similarly to James, we support the recommendation for approval and are open to any comments or questions from the panel, if you have any.
Thanks, Matthew. I will defer to panel members. John.
Yes, Matthew, in the report, and I don't know that's the council report. I don't know the exact position, but it was the matter of vaping and smoking was referred to, and your documentation actually says that the vaping and smoking, that is, when it's obviously it's not allowed in the building, but your paper or your submission says that it will be resolved via a location adjacent to the entry. Now, I've been unable to see on your drawings any location adjacent to the entry other than the footpath. What is the situation?
I don't think a specific location was designated for vaping and smoking. and I would have to defer to my client, but a logical location would be that outdoor area of the cafe
Yeah,
where there's a terraced area, but that would be the most logical location.
because that's
I'm happy to
currently out.
discuss that element of the plan of management as well.
And can people access that from all the other locations, and that they don't actually have to go outside on the footpath? They can just go
Yeah,
straight.
they can go straight down. So there's a stairwell
Yeah.
that goes between every level, and so they'll be able to access that external area of the site.
Would that be a problem for your client if we specified that vaping and cigarette smoking activities should only be allowed or should only occur, remembering that it's illegal in the enclosed section, but we nominate and say that vaping and smoking should only occur in that area that you referred to, the cafe open area?
I see no issue with that.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other issues?
Just a couple of points to note. We picked up some errors in the plan of management relative to the consent and also some of the documentation in, the SSE, etc. So there is the likelihood that the plan of management will need further work on it, and the panel may require or defer back to council management to have a look and review that plan of management to be consistent and as per best practice in the LGA. So I just wondered if you had any thoughts or feedback on that for us.
Were there specific elements of the plan of management that were of worry?
There were some technical errors and typos and things like that, but really more rigour is perhaps required about emergency contact for complaints, etc., to be clearly on the external part of the building to allow people to feed into a complaints register that's easily accessible by council and or emergency or police services. Right? That's one of them. Another one is to, given that there are the 3 separate premises within the application under consideration, that there probably needs to be 3 separate signs identifying the capacity, licensee, etc. We can't assume that it's just going to be the one leasee for the 3 things. What else was there? I guess one of the other issues is the acoustic assessment. It was noted in the report that there's been an awful lot of construction and so on, and it was very difficult to gain accurate data regarding acoustics because of the level of construction around the metro there. So I guess one of the things that we've been considering is that there perhaps needs to be a revisit when the bulk of the construction is over, just to determine the more accurate acoustic potential, outputs from the development to make sure that it's not being excessively noisy or whatever. A few things like that. Some of the signage may, as I said, need to be, made for the 3 venues. Some of the security things are a bit vague in terms of security staff required, when and how, and who makes all of that type of decisions. So it's things like that we feel that an amended plan of management will result in a better outcome for not only the venue but the surrounding businesses.
I agree in the sense that we can update those, the signage matters and emergency egress matters and all of that kind of thing to be more tailored and suited to the site. This is Edimon's typical structure of a plan of management, and it's currently being implemented at several spots around the North Sydney LGA, but we're happy to accommodate that. In terms of the acoustic modelling itself, we took a conservative assessment of that originally, and given the site's location within the North Sydney CBD, surrounded by mainly commercial premises, we don't necessarily see the change in noise environment as necessarily being warranted, in the sense that there was only 1 hour where in that conservative assessment there was any exceedance, and mitigation measures could be put in place, such as restrictions around external dining, which there are limited options for external dining on the site.
I think the proposal was to close some windows on one of the levels of the building to mitigate that.
Exactly, around 11 p.m. from memory.
My only other question is that just wondering in relation to the loading arrangements. I know that Lend-Lease is managing all of that, and the proposal talks about deliveries, etc., only being allowed in certain hours. But I wondered, inevitably traffic, delays people delivering and they go over hours or whatever. But will that loading dock be accessible for this development 24 hours a day? And also, what are the arrangements if those loading arrangements have to alter? Is there a system in place, and has Lend-Lease been consulted about this, and are they on board with the arrangements or the proposed arrangements?
So Lend-Lease and Etimon have been in discussions over the access arrangements for amenities and for the loading dock. I would have to check what contingencies are in place for access to the loading dock should there be delays or traffic or the like. But ultimately, from my understanding, Lend-Lease were comfortable with the access arrangement for the loading dock.
Okay, thank you. That's all from me.
Anything further?
No.
Okay. Thanks very much, Matthew.
Thank you very much.
We'll now move on to item number 3, which is DA number 292 2022-23, and the address being 13 to 15 Alistair Street, Cremorne. To speak first, I invite Scott Timmins.
Hi, Chair and panel. My name is Jonathan from Planning Ingenuity. I'm the town planner looking after the proposal. I'll just speak on behalf of Scott, who's the applicant from Wynnum. We also have here Isha from Team 2 Architects and Sabnam from GBA Heritage. Thank you for the time today, and we want to thank Council for their collaborative approach to reaching the positive recommendation for approval. Look, we really don't have much to add beyond being here to answer any questions if they become necessary. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask and we'll assist where necessary.
Thanks to the panel. Do we have any questions in relation to this one?
No.
None from me.
No, thanks.
No, thank you very much, Jonathan. No questions.
Great, thank you.
Okay, we move through to item number 4, DA number 713 of 023. And the address being Unit 6, 18 to 20 Cremorne Road, Cremorne Point. The first person I'd ask to invite to speak is Graham Walker.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Graham, we can hear you.
I'm stuck in traffic on the M5 driving to Wagga, so I've got plenty of time. Look, I'm a neighbour at the rear in Milson Road. I have lodged just a brief note to you regarding the suggestion that's been put forward by North Sydney Council in this matter. I think as a compromise, it's an eminently reasonable position to adopt. The only issues I think that we as neighbours have, and I speak on behalf of a number, is what not compensation, but what means of enforcement is there in these matters. As a developer, I say that I've built Class 2 buildings, and if part of the function of the Class 2 building was to have the sort of facility on the rooftop, then there are all sorts of requirements about evacuation, etc. And I can understand it's an old building, and I understand that you have to look at these in sensible ways. I don't decry that at all. But I think it should be looked at by somebody in authority, someone like the fire brigade, to look at, in the event that something major happened, that in fact the means of egress is in fact suitable and appropriate and able to accommodate the sort of numbers that are being discussed. So that's one issue. But the second and more major issue is we have had instances, I think it's all on file, you know that. There have been many reports to the police. The police come down and all they do is enforce the laws as they stand in the state. So You know, whether it was a designated event by council, notified to council, they don't care. And whether there's any means of enforcing any determination that is ultimately made is of great interest to us, and that's really the nub of and the rub of what we're about.
Thank you, Graham. I would now just invite from the applicant, Matthew, if you're available, or Mona, whichever of you want to respond first.
Yes, thank you, Chair and panel members. I might pass it over to Mona, the owner, first, just to sort of give a brief outline of, obviously, as the owner of the premises and the use of the terrace area.
Thanks.
Good afternoon, panel. Thank you for considering my application. I just want to reach out. All I'm asking for is I'm one of 6 kids, and I come from a very large family, an incredibly large family. And all I'm asking is for limited access to allow me to have my family over. You know, just for family gatherings and functions. I'm only asking for a limited access of 6 days a year. I'm not asking for 365 days of the year. Every other person, as I understand, is entitled to use their home as they see fit. You know, my neighbours don't have limitations. You know, I'm just asking for private use to have my family round to come visit me, you know, and that being, you know, Christmas and Easter and naturally New Year's Eve they've consented to. In my tenure, because I'm a new resident there, I've never had issues of concern if we've, you know, so I've never had an untoward visit from the police. So I'm a bit surprised to hear that coming from my neighbour, but I'm just asking for inclusion of family. You know, we live in a world today where we're all about inclusion, and I'm asking for that, and I'm asking for reasonable, you know, just to allow me to have my family. I mean, that's what's important to me. You know, we're not running anything untowards on the roof. You know, it's not a commercial environment. It's just domestic. It's just domestic. Does that?
Thank you very much. Matthew, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think I'd just add on top of that. So I got brought in sort of halfway through the assessment of this application by Mona, just to sort of provide a second opinion from a town planning perspective. And as part of that, I undertook a thorough analysis of the streetscape, and you may have seen in my additional letter the, I guess, other terraces and large balconies within the area. And as far as my research from council's records could show, that no other residential dwelling in this area has any restrictions on numbers or hours to utilise their own premises. So from that, and I think like Mona mentioned, we're not asking for, or she's not asking for 365 days. She's asking just for key times where families, friends come together and celebrate those times and whatnot. So look, I think from our perspective, we're just sort of look, whilst we appreciate the assessment officer's report, and you know, we agree with the allowance for New Year's Eve. From our perspective, we would like the panel still to consider the 6 days. And look, if the panel was to agree with the assessment officer's report, then I guess the other option that we would like the panel to consider is, well, would sort of a time limit on the 84 patrons, say between 10 a.m. to 7 p.m, be acceptable for those other 5 days apart from New Year's Eve as well. So thank you, Chair and panel, for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Mona.
Thank you very much, Matthew. I'll now invite the panel, on the basis no one further who wants to speak to the item, to ask any questions they might have of any of you.
Matthew, I'm just wondering, you've come in as part of the process to get the application up to council, etc. Mm-hmm. What are your qualifications in terms of, are you a planner, are you a fire safety officer, building surveyor? Could you just give us a bit of an
town planner.
Okay. I guess there is some concern that the area is 84 square metres and the request is for 84 people to be allowed up there, and the application says 6 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
Although there are no restrictions in terms of residential areas and how many people you can pack into your place, it seems it's very high up. There are limited stairs and exits out. I guess the panel probably has a few concerns about fire evacuation or emergency evacuation procedures, possibilities, and I'm wondering if you have anything to say about that issue.
Yeah, look, it isn't something I have sort of looked into, and it would probably be something we would need to get BCA advice in regards to that. In regards to that, would probably have to defer to an expert to provide clarification around that. In regards to, I guess, in the capacity numbers, my understanding is as per the planning studio, and I think previous information provided with the application was that number was specified based on the area, and I think also structural advice as well.
Okay, thank you.
Question for the owner, if I may. The recommendation is for a maximum of 84 people, and I'm not sure whether that number was put forward by you or whether it was put forward by the council based on the size of the terrace. So that's one question. The second question is, have you thought about how you could fit that many people on that terrace, given that there's going to be only 1 square metre, I think, per person?
Yes, I'll answer both. The first number came from sorry, I'm so nervous. Forgive me.
That's okay. Don't be nervous.
I'm really nervous because, like, it's my home. I engaged the heritage architects and the town and the environmental planner, and they went back and had a look at the code when the DA was approved, and that they got that number from the coding, the building code specification.
Okay.
And then hence the 6 days was also from the building code specification. At the time, that was the first question. In terms of structurally, I've had the building inspected probably 6 to 7 times by a structural engineer. He confirmed that it's built according to the Australian standards, and each square metre should be able to carry a minimum of 2 people per square metre. And considering the square footprint, it can actually fit more than 84 people, but we just kept it within the building code. And I just want to be able to, have my family. I'm one of 6 kids, all my siblings are married, invite nephews and nieces and a few aunts and uncles, and you're there. You're at that number, and who do you say to people, oh, no, you can't come upstairs, you've got to stay downstairs in the house? Who do you not invite? And I just did it because I wanted to be, safe and secure and not breach any safety requirements. And I mean, that DEA has been there for 20 years. I don't think anybody in the past 20 years has even looked at it, and you haven't had the chance to view it, but the terrace is set well within the parapet, so you can't even go anywhere near the parapet to lean over or to have a look. So you're safely enclosed.
Thank you for that.
And then my other neighbour also has a gate which closes off there, but you're safe and well encased, and there's no safety risk in that sense. And I just want to do the right thing.
Thank you, Mona. Any other questions? Okay. Well, thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Mona, and thank you, Graham.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and panel.
Now move to item number 5, which is DA number 79 of 2024, and the address being 20 Folly Point, Camaray. And Graham has now left us. So, Alex, over to you to present.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair and panel, for consideration. Alex Roth from Roth Architects. I'm the applicant architect. I've reviewed the report by council and agree with the recommendation and appreciate it. Open myself and the application to the panel for comments or questions.
Thank you very much, Alex. Any comments or questions?
No.
Thank you.
No. Thank you very much, Alex. Okay, we move to item number 6, which is DA number 397/19/3, the address 2 Folly Point, Camaray. And I will invite either Mark or Raymond to speak.
Hi, how are you, panel members? Thank you for your time today. We are here just to address any questions that the panel members might have in relation to the proposal. We believe that the plan has already provided their support for it, but if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them for you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Over to the panellists.
No, thanks, Mark.
For me, thank you.
No. Thanks. Thank you, Mark, and thanks, Ryan. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, to Waverton now, and DA number 45 of 2024, address being 10 Larkin Street in Waverton. And I understand we've got Inderjit here to speak to this item.
You're on mute.
Thank you, Chair and members of the panel. I'm here mainly to reassure the panel that with the approval, recommendation for approval of the retractable awning, we would definitely meet the conditions, meaning that it's going to be a retractable awning, it'll be retracted, and it's really there just for inclement weather, especially when it rains heavily, that's all. And I'm open to any questions about that.
Thank you very much. I'll refer to the panel now for any questions that we might have.
Yes.
To John.
Yes, you've nominated, or in fact, the conditions, you've seen the conditions which the council officers have nominated, and in that you're required to put a Marquilux pergola.
Yes, that's right.
That was put as a condition because I think in your application you indicated that was what you intended to do.
Correct.
Right. So you wouldn't object to a note being required on the drawings, noting that that was the required pergola?
Actually, I had sent those drawings initially to council that it was a Marquilux retractable awning, and the drawings from the company were sent there too. But I can furnish the panel with those Marquilux retractable awning drawings if necessary. Yes.
No, I'm not suggesting that. We have information on that anyway. It's only to dot the I's and cross the T's by noting on the drawings that particular pergola will be used. So.
Okay. Yes.
Yep.
We can do that. Yes, of course.
Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. I think that's everything from us. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, panel. Thank you.
We'll move to item number 8, being DA 311 of 2023, 10 Collins Street, Camaray. We've got a number of people registered to speak, so I'd invite first Anthony Puckles.
Hi team, can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear.
Excellent. Okay, thank you so much for today and for the site meeting. So I'm the owner of 12 Collins Street, Camaray. I've lived there for 25 years. I'm not sure if Nikki Blackwell who's the owner of 12A is on Zoom, but so I wasn't sure whether I'm meant to speak on her behalf as well. But I'll move on. The 12 and 12A Collins Street, as you know, are heritage listed properties. They were built in 1913 to house the local baker and bakery and stables. The North Sydney inventory lists the property being significant because its significance is due to its difference in scale from the surrounding buildings. Now, historically, we've been through two DAs which have been built at number 10 Collins Street. The previous 2004 DA approval for the second story was approved on the condition that only one north-facing dormer be allowed to be built on the western end. The second dormer had to be converted to skylights to preserve privacy and outlook from our property. The current DA now has 3 oversized north-facing dormers that will have a material impact on our privacy to our lounge room, kitchen, bedroom and bathroom. The new roof line that is currently proposed to house just a storage and plant room will completely obliterate any remaining city views from our bedroom and bathroom. This is a mirror image of, so it's back to front from here, but that's, as you would know, our current views. This is the proposed one showing the dormer window here and the new roof line looking directly into our bathroom and bedroom windows, which is completely, well, not acceptable to us. So the Heritage Report also backed up our submission, stating that the amended proposal is non-compliant in that the new roof height, ridge height will increase the building scale and the original form will be altered and the new dormers will dominate the side roof plans. The proposed dormers are oversized, exceeding 1/3 of the roof plan, and the style of dormer is not characteristic to the Federation style dwelling. The assessment officer report's recommendations go a long way to addressing our concerns. However, we would encourage council to only approve plans on a definitive design as opposed to a theoretical conditions. So, judging from the assessment officer's report, I've drawn up that as being what I consider his recommendations to be.
Anthony, could you hold that up a little higher? We can't quite see it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that's my reading of the, apart from the dormer windows, which need to be made smaller and potentially they might move in terms of where they are positioned. But that's my reading of the assessment, which by and large, if there's frosting, we can live with that assessment. But yeah, I do want to note that the previous DA's approval was on the condition that only one dormer was built and with the skylights for the second.
Thank you, Anthony. And we're beyond 3 minutes, but thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Paul Hutley is the next registered to speak.
Yes, hello, Mr. Chairman and panel. I'm at number 8 Collins Street. We've owned that property for over 30 years. We've been through this process once prior with the previous owner, was trying to get a full 2-story through. Where I'm extremely concerned about overshadowing. We've got a dining room, we've got a kitchen and a bedroom down that side of the house, along with the bathroom. And I believe that we will lose an immense amount of light into those rooms should this approval be granted. And one of my major concerns is that I'm the part owner of the joint carriageway between the two properties. Now, this carriageway cannot be parked on, it cannot have material stored on it. Now, I want to know, if the approval is granted, how these people plan to occupy this driveway and right-of-way that doesn't inconvenience my tenants. I don't want to lose tenants over a development that's going to cause great impact to my property and to my income. And also too, they're proposing to build the garage on the actual boundary. I will not give access to my property for the construction of this garage. And I don't know whether they're aware that the water board sewer runs down the back of the property, hence the 1 metre distance between the existing dwelling and the back fence. Now, the proposal is to take the garage right to the fence of the neighbouring property, which is in Carter Street, I think. And also, I would not give permission or approval for them to come into my property to encase the sewer. they would have to encase the sewer a metre into my property. I've got established trees along that side, and I don't want any damage to those trees also. Another concern I have is the pool up against the wall. I believe that I will get a lot of noise coming out of that area, and again, inconveniencing my tenants. So they're basically the major parts of my concern, along with where would they be storing material. I noticed that the council's stipulated that there's nothing to be stored or occupied on their property, but I don't know how they're going to store material and work on the site and practically have access to my property at all times.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll refer to the panel. Oh, no, pardon me, so we've got some more to go. Apologies. We've also got registered to speak Nikki Blackwell. Nikki, if you're there. No, Nikki's not there.
I can speak on her behalf if you want, but
the other owner.
Yeah, no, I don't think. Thank you, Anthony. We will rely on the written submissions that have been put in.
Okay, sure.
But thank you for offering. I'll then invite the applicant, Ken de Marclian, to speak. Okay, is the applicant on?
Can I call?
Yeah, give him a call.
Okay, we're just for those online, we're just calling to just make sure that there hasn't been a difficulty getting on. So just we'll pause the meeting just for one moment while we do that.
I might have it. All right, I'm trying to get it.
Got who that, sorry?
Is it on there? If they're registered, it should be on there.
Yeah. Oh, might be on there.
No, it is not. But he was to be here. Holly will have the number.
Holly should.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Thanks everyone for your patience.
That's Holly might be calling him offline.
We'll give it another minute or so, and if we can't contact him, we'll have to move on.
I think the owner was keen to speak too.
Yeah, they said they would log in. So.
Oh, okay, only.
Robin, are you there? Do you have contact details?
I have just called the applicant and he is going to join the Zoom meeting because he didn't realize it run ahead of time.
Okay, no worries.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
We're on mute.
Hello, Ken. We're on to your item, and we've heard from submitters, and it's now your opportunity to have 3 minutes to speak to the application, and then we will open up for some questions for both you and the submitters based on what you have to say. So your 3 minutes starts now.
Okay, well, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to hear. I was told this wouldn't start until after 3, so I didn't get a chance to hear the submitters' comments. But I assume that they are contained within what they submitted in their letters, etc. So, as discussed this morning on site,
I mean, there's a number of issues that we wanted to bring to your attention, mainly with regard to the deferred commencement conditions. I mean, we note that it's recommended for approval. One of the concerns for us, and the most major one, is the suggested alterations to the front of the roof form. We don't believe that what we've submitted in terms of either bulk scale or streetscape contribution is inappropriate. And as shown by the drawings that you would have in front of you, as part of the application, there are perspectives there, and they're mostly shown on the shadow diagrams. Am I able to share a screen? Is that possible?
No.
Am I able to do that?
No, it's not that. Yeah, we don't.
No, sorry, you can't. Ken, you could potentially hold something up to your camera, but you can't share a screen.
We can't see you either, Ken.
Yeah.
If you wanted to hold something up, you might have to come.
1 second. Can you see me
Yep.
now?
That's it. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So if I share a screen, you can't see that, or I'm not supposed to. I didn't understand.
Yeah.
No. We rely on the papers in front of us. If you do have something you'd like to hold up, you can do that.
Let me see if will that do that. No, that's not working. Okay. Look, I'll leave it till I'll leave it in that case. I wanted to actually show you guys effectively a photographic image which actually shows the relativity of the buildings. So the issue for us is that we don't believe that the front of the roof should be or the gable should be deleted and the front should be pushed back and the two dormers deleted. We strongly believe that the size of the building or the roof form, etc., is complementary and characteristic of a lot of other properties, both in the street and round the corner in Cairo Street, in Carter Street. The other thing that we spoke about on site today is we don't believe there's merit, and there's just in removing the garage 900 back from the rear boundary. We don't think that's offensive. The rear people haven't objected to it, and it assists on what are generally small sites in getting us some improving the amenity for the residing family. The other thing was, and I know that the panel went into the adjoining property at number 12, the issue with asking for the windows to not be clear on the first floor on the northern facade of number 10, given the fact that on the other side there's a bathroom window which is probably more appropriate for it to be obscured, and there is a bedroom window which is located right at the end of the bedroom rather than the centre of the room, and doesn't get necessarily view loss when you walk in under most tests, the tenacity test. That asked for windows on the first floor level on the northern facade into the living spaces and bedrooms of number 10 is not appropriate and significantly compromising those rooms.
Okay, thank you, Ken. We're beyond the 3 minutes, so thank you, but we'll probably have an opportunity to explore some of those issues with questions.
Can I just raise just two more in that case, so that if you do raise them with questions? The other issue I have is the southern windows on the ground floor. There doesn't seem to be any merit for windows 9, 10 and 11 to also be obscured into the common shared driveway from the living spaces of number 10. Doesn't make sense. And the last one with regard to the pool and the link, I will leave, and we can discuss that whether overarching on questions.
Thank you very much, Ken. I'll now ask the panel whether there are any questions for Anthony, Paul or Ken.
None from me.
No thanks. One of the submitters that we've just heard, unfortunately, Ken, you weren't here available, raised the issue of the storm sewer line along the back of the property. Yes. So the proposal goes right to the rear boundary, and it from what this person said, the building will go over the top of the sewer line. I'm just wondering if...
Not a board sewer. We don't have a board sewer on the survey. We're not proposing to go over the top of a board sewer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just one question from me, Ken, just a point of clarification. You're saying there has been no submission from that you're aware of from the owner of the house behind you.
There was prior to the amended drawings, there was submission with the very first plans that were submitted, which then after the meetings with council and in an effort to ameliorate concerns, the design was changed to what you've got in front of you, which is the pitched roof with the 3 dormers on either side and no dormers facing towards the rear boundary. So the previous submission from the rear neighbour was in regard to the dormers and the change of that aspect facing the rear boundary, which effectively is our west, their east, right?
I see. So just to be clear then,
yes.
So there was a submission, but the issues raised in the submission were resolved. They didn't relate to the proposal to move the dwelling to the rear. No.
The garage, correct. Correct.
Terrific. Anything further?
No.
No. Thank you, gentlemen. We then move, where are we? To item number 9. And thank everyone on remaining for their patience in going through all these items. This is DA number 350 of 2023, the address being units 20 and 23, 11 Amherst Street, Camaray. We have one person registered to speak, and that is Paul Ludlow.
Sorry, apologies. We're finished with number 10, Collins?
That's right. Yes, thank you.
So you don't need me. You don't need me, obviously, for the next item.
No.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Sorry, Paul, over to you. And you're on mute.
I've been off mute for most of the meeting. Good afternoon to you. I am the joint owner of lot 23 and represent both lots 20 and 23 in this matter. We all fully support their reported recommendation and the proposed conditions of consent. And I'm here purely to answer and respond to any questions you might have.
Thank you very much, Paul. Over to the panel.
None from me, thank you, Paul.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you for your patience in waiting so long. We've got no questions for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, well, having dealt with all the submissions, we will now go into a closed session to deliberate and close the public meeting. Thank you.